My name is Kahu Kalani Koko Matthew Kalani Souza. My dad, he picks our English names out of the Bible because when we become a state, American territory, they insist on us having English names. And that's how the tradition of a Hawaiian name as a middle name began. Because actually those names were all of our first names, but then we had to stick other names in front. So my brothers are Joseph, David, James, right? Because he's opening the Bible. And he's just sticking his finger in there, and whatever name we're landing on is going to be the name of that particular kid. And in my case, he lands on Matthew. Interestingly, it's not an English name, it's a Hebrew name, right? And Matthew in Hebrew means exactly what Kalani in Hawaiian means, right? So turns out, as my mom said, I guess that was your preordained name, right? So naming somebody Matthew Kalani is really redundant. They both have the same meaning, but my mother used to say, I guess that's your name, and that's the thing you're going to fly with. So I've always been really comfortable with the fact that I'm carrying that particular name heritage, and uncomfortable when people call me Matthew. The primary reason is that's why my mother used to call me when I was really in trouble, right? And so every time somebody says Matthew, I still get that little shimmer like, well, what did I do, right? It's like, but I'm trying to put that fear down the way we put all fear down, right? All of us wrestle between the world of fear and love and response. And as I was saying, it's right there in my name, right? It's right there. So I look at it every day. And you'd be surprised how many airports, hotels, where they go, Matthew, you know, man, I feel myself kind of like still doing. At 68, I'm still reacting like an 8-year-old, right? It's like those patterns are stronger than we like to admit, right? And so to be able to address our emotional wellness, right? Our ability to bring our whole and genuine self to the world, we really have to become introspective and transformative about the way we view our lives and the way we experience fear or rejection, or the idea that I heard clearly from many of the participants that we may not be good enough, right? That we may not deserve the best. And so we do for others without caring for ourselves because we think this constant service will somehow improve our odds in terms of our worthiness, right? But really, aren't we all worthy? I mean, really, I've never met a human being that I didn't like, right? I may disagree with their politics. I may disagree with their economics, right? I might disagree with their theological approach and their overall operating system. But that doesn't mean I don't like them, right? Because I can see in them the same self-doubt, right? The same, if you'll excuse me, self-loathing, right? That we all wrestle with. And who programs that, right? Who writes the initial code that makes all human beings desperately need to be understood? And why do all human beings desperately want to understand, right? And why do all human beings desperately want to be loved, right? And why do we all desperately want to love, right? Who writes that original coding? Who's programming these initiating responses that, frankly, through the course of our larval stage, right, our childhood, the institutions of education and the structures of society try to break down, right, this innate capacity we have to connect, right? Instead, we're taught, no, stranger danger, right? No. God, just take care of your own needs, right? We're taught all kinds of interesting concepts. But I remember one, my Auntie Keala, she taught me this one. She said, there's always enough. Always. Just cut the fish one more time. But why do you think there's not enough to go around? There's always enough, right? It's like who's willing to give up some of what they have for the other, right? A healthy human being sees the need for cooperation and the need for relationship, right? And it comes to them so easy. And we all know the unhealthy response, right? That goes towards self-aggrandizement or self-concern, or I'm going to take care of I, me, mine, and the rest of it just needs to get by, right? So within the structure of my name alone comes this idea of service, right? Matthew in Hebrew means the gift of heaven, and Kalani in Hawaiian means the gift of heaven. You know, and my formal Hawaiian name, which is Kahu Kalani Souza, right, means the eyes of God are the gift of heaven. And like the rain of heaven, it flows through your blood, right? And I think to myself, you couldn't name me Bob? I mean, Bob is easy, B-O-B, right? It's like we could just have a name like that and we could, but nah, something happens with Hawaiians. They get all profound and, you know, so in all honesty, I spend my life trying to avoid community service. Clearly it didn't work. It's like, clearly I'm right back in this mode of serving the community and doing what we do. And I'm kind of perplexed. I don't actually understand why it is I ended up being, I think of myself as a nefarious character, right? I think of myself as, like so many others, as being unworthy to the call, right? Unworthy to the challenge. But as my mom said, worthy or not, buck up, pal, and get out there and do the work, right? It's like, yes, Mom, right? It's like, worthy or not, the children are waiting. The old people are waiting. The women, the village is waiting, right? Come out and do your work, right? It's like, yes, understood, right? She gave me, along with my grandfather, who raised me, she gave me these 3 edicts, which our nonprofit now operates under. I have 3 outstanding rules, right? The first rule is, are the children fed? Right? Because if you're not feeding children through whatever vocation it is that you do, you're not really accomplishing much, right? Because the children are the future, right? So supporting the future of the human race is critical. So she would say, you know, the first assumption is that coupling is happening, that you're actually having children, right? The second assumption is that you're not under threat. Because if you're being defensive, waging a war, or running for your life, you can't feed children. It's like you're busy. So to feed children requires infrastructure, capacity, resource, right? And if you've ever fed a kid, you know, if you take your eyes off them for a minute, somebody's got a spoon in their ear and there's a mess to clean up, right? So you really gotta be focused on the child. And children don't eat just food. Right? So feeding children requires a lot of attention in terms of art, in terms of capacity, the humanization. The second rule she told me was, make sure the old people are comfortable. Not getting by. Comfortable. There's a difference, right? If you're worried about the comfort of the elderly within your society, it means you have a society that values wisdom over knowledge because it plans for diminishing capacity, right? It understands that capacity diminishes over time. And so it begins to accommodate, but it accommodates not out of pity, but because there's a gift there with the elders, right? And that gift is wisdom, right? And wisdom is quite different from knowledge, right? My grandfather would say, wisdom is a thing that can be learned, but it cannot be taught, right? And he would say, I want you to think about that while you're paying your tuition. Right? It's like, really, what are you gaining from this, right? And we find ourselves in that state of affairs in the world recently. We rely on our digital devices to inform us about the world, right? We tend to separate from our cultural norming and get isolated in this messaging. The digital media tends to create a myopic, closed loop of information that ends up distorting what it is we really know, right? So in a day and age when digital information is so powerful, how do we convince our children that relationality has as much importance as transactionality, right? It's not just about, I did this and so this happened and I got this and look, delivered on Tuesday, right? It's like, it's actually, the human experience is deeper than that. But the human experience suggests that cooperation, care, sharing, empathy, communication, definitely compassion, are all part of the human experience. And if you live a life that is void of that, I cannot tell you how many elderly I've sat hospice with or spent time with who do nothing but regret the previous 65 years of their existence. It's good to come to that awareness at 72. Really should have done it at 7, right? Really should have become aware at 7 about the need to connect, the need to be part of something larger, right? If it's true that we are the descendants of the primates, and I'm not necessarily sure that that's true. And when I say that, I'm not saying that as a metaphoric creationist I'm just saying, I'm not sure that humans are mammals, right? When we study humans, which I tend to do, humans are more like marsupials, right? We come out, we are not finished, right? We're like a little baby kangaroo. Joey got to get to the pouch for the next 7 years just to get beyond mom. And then Joey's gonna need another 10 to 12 years to even finish up. And now we're thinking humans don't actually finish till that last hormone package at 24 or 25. 25 years in the larval stage. That means humans should live to be at least 250, 300 years old. The larval stage for most life on this planet is 1/10 of its life. There are exceptions, to be sure, like dragonflies, even butterflies, where more of their life is led as larval. But you notice they're from the insect world, right? They're not from the primate world. They're not from the world of mammals. A baby horse will stand up on that first day and start running, right? A baby elephant will do the same thing. It'll take it a day to stand up, but it starts moving. And now it's a small version of the adult, and it's going to grow. A baby human can't walk without falling down for about 6 years, right? It's like, so if we're looking at it, are we really the descendants of mammals? Are we really part of that? Is that just some story that science keeps handing us, right? Is there actually something else going on with Homo sapiens sapien, right? Who are we really? We can see that there were 6 or 7 different kinds of hominids. We know that we collapsed down into this one hominid that has many different DNA signatures, right, along the way. But we clearly don't operate as mammals, right? So I see myself as someone who, through the lens of family, through the lens of society, trying to investigate who we are as participants in the universe, which include not just the physicality of fresh water to drink or food to eat, and they're all important, right? But the idea of children needing to be cared for, elderly needing to be cared for, that means you're looking at your yesterday and your tomorrow, right? And you're trying to extend them further. That means you're reaching beyond the present moment of your life to have an impact on the greater experience of the human race. I don't know too many species that do that, right? But we do. And so that bears supporting, right? Caring for the children, caring for the elderly as they age. Here's something that's interesting. If you ask most elderly, they would be glad to care for the children, right? It's like one of their things is like hanging around their grandkids. But we deconstructed in our transactional society into daycare and elderly care. And we make money of an industry that actually is robbing both groups of this fantastic interaction, right? This intergenerational interaction and relationality that is from someone who grew up with his grandparents. So critical, right? So important to feel that intergenerational.